Hello, welcome everyone to the next. This is our seventh episode, right? I think, yeah, to the seventh
Seven.
episode
Yeah.
of King Talk. It's Malik here again with Ibra. Today we have a very interesting topic for you guys, and we can't wait to get into it. So, dating differences between the EU, so between Europe and the US. The reason we have this topic is because myself and Ibra, we talk a lot about different things, yeah, and these are some of the conversations that we want to bring on this podcast. And through our conversations, I've realized that Ibra, especially, have had quite a lot of experience in the dating scene in Europe and the US, and his experience have been a good opportunity for me to learn a lot. And we thought, why not, make an episode where not only myself is learning, but everyone else that watches us can learn one or two from his experience. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, this is strictly based on his experience. This is not something that has been researched and peer reviewed, and this is data driven or
It's not
anything like that.
scientific.
It's not scientific, exactly. It's strictly based on experience, but I think it's still an interesting topic, and it's worthwhile to uh, have a conversation about that live on this podcast. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into it. The format is very simple. Because
Okay.
it's an opportunity for us to learn, I would throw questions to Ibrahim and he would share his experience and tell us stories and so to back some of the learnings that we'll be getting from him today. The first question that I have in mind is there a difference between the dating scene in the US and in Europe, Germany specifically?
Of course. Yes, there is a huge difference between
Okay,
those two countries.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I needed to start with that. So this is a useful one. Okay, cool. So now that we know that there are differences, we also know that there is the online dating scene and there is that face-to-face physical dating scene as well. You know, meeting someone in a bar or at work. Is there also a difference between the experiences when you're doing online dating and when you're dating or meeting people in person, face to face? Is there a difference there as well? This is also yes or no, basically.
Of course, there's a huge, huge difference there. Yeah, I would say it's day and night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, great. So because there is a difference there, I would like to structure this in two forms. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between the US and Europe on the face-to-face dating scene first, right? Before then we go into, the added differences that going online puts into that as well. So the first thing, you are trying to meet a girl. How easy is it to meet someone face to face and approach them and get them to hang out with you some other time or immediately? How easy is it to do that between Germany and the US?
For me, it's quite easier in the US, I would say, due to the language barrier that is not necessarily there, right? So that kind of helps with my confidence, or at least my mentality, walking up to someone, knowing fully where there is no scenario or situation where this person doesn't speak the language that I speak. So that makes a huge difference in how you approach a lady, right? In Germany, you have to kind of think of, what if she doesn't speak English? What if she's not confident in speaking English? A lot of other considerations, but I think that would be the major factor that I would consider when I say, oh, it's easier in the US approaching a lady physically than in Germany, for example.
Great. So my interpretation of that is that the pool that you have access to is much more in the US, and you feel that, so that affects your mentality as well. This is me just rounding it up. Almost every pretty girl that you see in the US, you can walk up to without thinking twice. But in Germany, You're probably hanging around to see if that this person speaks English, or if they spoke English to someone else, and then you walk up to them. Or is this something? Have I understood that correctly?
You are correct. And I mean, as you were saying that, then it also brings me to this other point that just popped up in my head. It's not just that. Frankly, it's also due to the fact that over here, the pool is way bigger, like you said. But it's not just the pool, it's also something that I would call like the racial dynamics, right? I feel like it makes a whole difference when the racial dynamics of the country is also kind of aligned to who you are. I mean, I would just break it down. It's like I'm black, obviously, right? So it makes it easier to approach someone, knowing that I live in the US, that a large portion of the country also look like me and they are citizens of this country. So that makes a huge impact in how you approach and the success you are going to get. Because for real, I mean, I had the experience in Germany. It's always there when you have to wonder if she speaks the language, which is English. Aside that, deep down, you also have to kind of hope she
Which
is
is open.
into.
Not necessarily into, but at least open to
Open-minded
engaging
to engage
yeah,
someone of my color,
with a
right?
black
So
person,
exactly.
or a
So
foreigner in general.
yeah, so that's also a big part of it. And like you said, a foreigner, not just like black, I feel like Germans are quite conservative. They know that about themselves also. So it's not just because of my skin color, right? It's also just you are not German. So and that is huge.
Okay.
So
So that's wonderful. So now we know all those differences, right? Germans are much more conservative. So for you, your experience as a foreigner means that you have to be a little bit more cautious when you select who you want to approach. Your pool is much bigger in the US, and it's also much easier for you. Now, let's walk through a scenario. So now we found a German lady and an American lady that you would like to approach. Do you always go with the same approach? Like, what type of energy? Is there a difference?
there is a huge difference also in terms of approach, and I would categorize that as cultural difference, right? There's a huge gap when it comes to like the expectations of how you approach in the US and in Germany. With a German lady, for example, there is a huge emphasis on direct communication and honesty, I would say. So if I'm like approaching a lady in Germany, there is this, oh, this is what I want, this is what I'm trying to do, this is where I'm trying to get us to. Whereas in US, it's not so much direct. I think you really creep people out if you come to direct. One thing that I've sensed is you have to really, really get your flirty game on. Like you have to be really your flirt game on,
Brother,
rather. Like you have
do you
to.
want to give us a little bit of what does that
I mean,
mean?
it's not. Yeah,
An
what it
example.
means is what it means is like there's a buzzword for it now. It's called Reese. Like in Germany, you don't need Reese to be honest. You just need to be looking a part, which would
like
be
an
like
example. You looked upon. Give us an example.
look responsible, talk responsibly. Oh, my name is this. I saw you from over there. I thought you're really cute, and I just had to let you know something like that. And all in US, you have to sort of be really playful, not serious. So like the directness is not there. So like you can come up with something. I mean, I don't have anything top of my head right now, but going direct would most likely not get you the result you are looking for.
So you need pickup lines. Is that something
Exactly.
that would work more in the US compared to
That
Germany?
is superficial. Yeah, let me just put it like that. Something that is quite not necessarily true, but it's playful. And yeah, people respond to that, you know?
Like one of those little things where you go, I don't know if I'm saying this right. Something like, "Are you a bomb because you blow my heart away?" Some bullshit like this.
Something like that. Something like that. You have to be soft also. Really, really soft. Not in a
In the
I think
US,
you are in the Reese way. That's what I want to kind of differentiate now, because it doesn't mean you don't have to be in Germany. You have to with any lady, right? You don't have to be too macho or talking like you're in a corporate interview or something. Like, but there's something about it that I see differently, not from my own experience, like what people do also, friends around me that have had success, right? It's like, oh, what you doing? You really need that sweet voice thing. I don't know how many videos you've seen online when they are trying to like mimic how man and woman relationship is like. In the US, the voice is important, like the bedroom voice thing of, so I was, what you doing tonight, right? And with all these kind
No, I
of
get what now I understand.
with
Okay, so
the,
all
with
this,
the yeah,
mhm.
like the softness.
Yeah,
But in
yeah.
Germany, that will make you look really stupid. Like, what are you trying to do, bro? Like, it's cringy somehow, but it definitely works.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to. I think I understand what you're saying. So in the US, when you approach the ladies, you tend to play you tend to play it almost like a game because there are certain things that work there that is not necessarily a natural thing, like using pickup lines, like changing your voice a little bit, like trying to be hip. But in Germany, it's fine to be yourself and just go directly and say, "Look, this is me. This is what I want. Are you down?" Right. So it's the cultural differences that we have across the two countries. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're moving forward. Okay. You got the girl's number. You've got the girl's number.
Okay.
What do you do? How do you bring up the first date? Is it different?
In the US, you have to be casual, spontaneous because you don't know where this is going to lead. Usually, I would advise anyone watching this to assume that it's all for fun. That's what your mindset should be fixated on because that's what I feel like most ladies' mentality is a lot here. Don't start thinking, oh, she's going to be my future wife. That's going to get you into a lot of trouble. It's like,
Oh, and you think in Germ, in, Ge- do you think that in Europe you can already think that?
I'm generalizing now. Every case is not, of course, gonna be the same, right? But when you zoom out on the macro, right, like on the large scale, what will really cut across board, like what you will see often when you bring like random samples out is what I mean. Yeah, of course, in Germany, I believe you can have that mindset and it will work more than in the US.
That's an interesting observation.
No. And when I say this, it depends on where you meet the person, right? There's some places where you don't, like in the club, I would not advise, regardless the country, to first think, oh, this is gonna lead to something like
Or in
you,
school or in at
like
work,
in the
then
shopping mall, like on the street. Oh, I saw like just
oh,
normal
that's
casual
now
day
that you
to day.
mentioned the street. Now that you mention on the street, culturally, what has been your experience with actually walking up to a girl on the street in Germany versus the US?
Yeah, in the US, it's a thing. I'm not sure if it's not a thing in Germany, but I just never really had success and I stopped trying in Germany. I've heard from like a few German friends of mine back then that like yeah, they do that and it sure does work. But for me, it's not my experience. As far as I'm concerned, it's not a thing in Germany.
So basically, you're saying it's a thing in the US, but it's not a thing in Germany. Is it that sort of situation that we have in Nigeria as well, where it's much more common to meet someone randomly on the street, randomly on the road? If you find someone attractive in the bus, you talk to them. That's a very common thing in Nigeria. Is it that type of difference?
I don't think it is as common as you would think because yeah, of technology, right? But if it's like will you have success? I think of course you would have like a lot of success when you walk up to someone physically or like on the street. Yeah,
in
they
the US versus Germany, as much success as you would have, for example, in Nigeria. At least that's something that we both know that in Nigeria it's absolutely normal. It's probably one of the most successful routes to meet people. Is that
yeah.
so? You got the number. You mentioned that with the US you have to be quite spontaneous. So you don't want to think this is someone that's already my future wife. But in Germany it's different. But what does that translate to in how much you communicate with them? How quickly can you invite them on the first date? What would you generally do? And is it different between the two countries?
And yeah, it's a lot different. In the US, you have to be spontaneous and fast, like I said, right? So if you get a number now, I think the lady would somewhat be expecting an action in the next couple of hours, maybe
Oh,
24 to 48 hours, depending on the
okay.
time of the day. If it's
And you said couple
like
of
of
hours.
the
I was thinking same day.
No, like 1 or 2 days. I just wanted to, yeah. In Germany, for example, at least there's still an action you have to take, right? You still have to sort of text back, oh, is this so guy that, we met so place. You don't have to really do anything urgently. You can go the same route, like, oh, what are you doing Friday night? There's this restaurant that would like us to check out or whatever. You would have success in both countries, right? It's ideal. But one will sort of phase out and one can still be there. Like in Germany, if you don't, the pressure is not there to do something immediately. And when I say do something, it has to be something fun. It has to be something exciting.
So in Germany, it's fine if you're fast or slow. You get the number, you can chat a little bit, you can have the first date or the
Yeah.
first meeting again 2 weeks from now. Because where everyone is busy, you have to put it in the calendar. I mean, this is a common joke that you
Exactly.
see everywhere. Like,
Exactly.
oh, don't, I'm busy. Next available date is the 24th of July. What are you doing then? And in the US, spontaneity is more the way to go. That if you don't reach out to do something in the next few days, it's probably cold. If you think, oh, we have 2-3 weeks to go, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Now, what would be an ideal first date in Germany versus an ideal first date in the US, based on your experience?
Like I said, it has to be fun. It has to be spontaneous. And it will definitely cost you money. Your interest is directly proportional or attached to how much money you are willing to share on a lady. They sort of attach it to what you think they are worth. I'll give you an example. If after getting the number, I'm like, oh yeah, this is me. Are you free tomorrow? Can we go to Taco Bell or go to Starbucks for like coffee or something? You will most likely get rejected. You might not get a date. That's what I mean. Because it's cheap.
Wow. Wow.
It's where you get your fast food, you get in, you get out. But I
Wow.
can tell you in Germany, you can definitely take a girl to Starbucks. Most Starbucks that I know is quite.
What are you talking
you know,
about? Starbucks? You can go for a walk around the corner.
You can go to the park. You can go to.
You can literally walk on the street. Yeah, you can be like, would you like to take a walk on the street?
Exactly. I took a lady out to the park one time. I was like super direct at the point, like, yo, on my first date, I don't take people out on dates anymore. If you really want to get to know me, I think that's what this is about, right? If I'm not mistaken, let's go to the park. It's close to my place. 5 minutes, 3 minutes drive or so. She accepted, right? She was like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's do that. It was more so like a formality. When we got there, she was like, yeah, I didn't know it's like, yeah, this park thing. Like, I texted you the address. You can Google image this place and you already have a sense of how it's a park. There are things you can buy, like people making barbecue and stuff, and they are rather cheap, right? Rather than go to like a fancy restaurant and spend a lot of money for
Was this
something
in Germany
that
or in the US?
in the US.
Okay.
So like I was
That's
able to, yeah. And I know why that kind of work. She's African. So I think that her mindset is also different when it comes to that. She has this African background. We could relate on a different level if that makes sense. So like, yeah.
I see. That's interesting. So the expectation in the US for a first date, it has to cost money, and the more money you spend, the better your chance. Even when you invite them to cheap places, you have a higher probability of getting an outright no. Why did you decide that you're no longer interested in taking girls out on expensive first dates?
It's not working. It has been compromised, if I may. It's like
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that sounds funny. But go ahead.
Some people are really leveraging on that. Bro, I tell you for a fact, I've met people who are just out there in the dating pool just to get cheap, like, I don't want to say cheap food, but like just to go out on dates and have men pay for their meals. I mean,
So they have lunch date and dinner date all set up so that they have lunch for free and dinner
lined
for
up
free.
for days.
Even
Yeah.
breakfast. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like,
So
and I mean, let's even forget that side, right? Let's go to the other side of it. Let's talk about what it means for me. If I'm averaging like $90 per dinner or per date,
Is that enough money in the US? Is that okay? One hundred
on the,
dollar for a date in the US. What is that considered as? Is that considered a good date, an expensive date,
it
a
depends on the
normal date?
location.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the part of the US. In some places, you will be fine. That would be sort of expensive. But in some other cities, like Miami, like if you go to like some other parts of the country, many places in California, like you can't get anywhere. So on the average, something that will cut across anywhere in the US that would still be like respectable from the lady's perspective would cost you around $120 and above, I would say. And you're just keeping it light. Yeah. So if you multiply that by like 9 or 10 in a month, that's a
Why, why,
considerable
why,
amount of.
why are you going on 10 dates in a month?
I mean, it depends on. I mean, we haven't talked about that other part where you talk like we talk about the online and the offline. So if you're meeting someone online, I think it's rather fast how things happen. It's also the culture here. It's you don't talk for that long compared to Germany, where you might not even meet until after 2 weeks or a week.
And all the gateways of decision that happens in that space. So you meet a girl, you chat, you invite on the first date, it's a yes. You go on the first date, it's a yes. If the first date doesn't work, she immediately tells you it's a no, and you can go on the next one. Or do you already line them up without knowing how they turn out, how they would turn out?
Oh, like having like 10 dates in a month, is
Yeah,
that the
you do
question?
10 dates in a month. Is that because you get like, all right, this is done, it's not working, and then you pick the next one, or they are all already lined up before knowing that one of them won't work, or the
I
other?
mean, usually you talk to multiple people, but as soon as I start talking to someone that is getting serious, I sort of just let others go, right? So, and with the whole being time conscious, you just sort of have to act. So, in like 3, 4 days, you already know where you're going. I think I would be able to get a date out or at least something out to know where this is going in 3 to 4 days. So,
Now that's very interesting. Do you know why I find that
why
interesting?
is it
I've
yeah.
always I've always had the assumption that one of the fundamental problems, and we're going to get into that as well, based on your experience, like which one is better between online dating and meeting people face to face, and what you think the reason for one being better than the other is. But my assumption has always been that the fundamental issue with online dating is the fact that everyone is dealing with multiple people at once. You don't really get to know each other enough to be able to align in such a way that it's not absolute. Because every relationship that you build, it's like, well, that person, they talk that way, but it's fine. I know them. They're a real person to me. But you meet someone online, it's moving so fast. Within 3 days, a decision has to be arrived at because you have to decide on the other ones that are lined up, or that are at least that they are potentials. My assumption is that it's a fundamental issue, all that access to options. Now, I'm going straight to, where do you get sex on the first date the easiest? US or Germany?
100% US, bro. Like it's crazy how much access you will have, not that you can have, if you have resources. And when I say resources, I mean financial resources. Bro, I have this sort of guarantee of what you have to do if you want to get laid. It will just cost you money. Whereas in Europe, you only need money. I think if I can meet someone now, text her like an hour after meeting her physically or something like, oh, I'm planning to do so. That same evening, you guys can go out and you can smash.
I always had the impression that Europeans are also quite open to sex on the first date or not. And I personally also don't have any judgment around this. I guess you as well. But what you're saying is that when it has to do with how much money you have, it's just easier. So, for example, you pull up in a G wagon, or you pull up in a Toyota. For in Europe, maybe that doesn't make a difference, as that much difference, at least in Germany, but it makes all the difference in the US. Have you ever had an experience where you went with a very nice car? Because there's so many videos on YouTube of all this gold digger prank. I think they're all staged.
They
I
are
honestly
not,
think they're all staged,
bro.
but I want
They
to
are
get your
not.
wait. Really.
They are
No,
not like, and that's also that's also one point that I feel like maybe I miscommunicated. The sad part is not also just the fact that you need to show that financial capability. You can actually really fake it, and that's quite sad. So you might be broke as fuck, right? But if you save up money to get a really fancy car, you get laid a lot in the US.
wow,
Like, I don't care any part of the country. It's a metric that a lot of ladies here will judge you by. Like, they will compliment you in a way that you know after a week of getting a fancy car, like, yo, this shit works. It's like, oh, nice car.
wow.
Like, I love it. Like, you don't get that in Germany, like, as such. You like,
Absolutely not. You don't even have an opportunity to park your car where it's visible. If you're not,
exactly.
yeah, you don't have the opportunity to do that. Well, but that's very interesting. I mean, I absolutely understand that having a very expensive vehicle, it's not unfair to assume that that person is comfortable. And if you think about German culture as well, people just don't splash money on things if they truly can't afford it. So it tells you a lot about the person. But if you have a nice car and you show off with the nice car, for majority of European girls, it might even be at your disadvantage. I would give an example. I have a friend. He's a black guy and he likes to party really, get bottles and pop champagne in the club and all that stuff. So he had this crazy experience where when he goes to the club and they bring his bottles of champagne and they do all this drama, round one, round two, it turns out that a lot of girls start becoming too shy or they do not want to join his table anymore because there was so much show in all the drinks that he has bought. But the days that it tells them don't put the light, just bring the drinks. Let's just have something to drink on the table. And we don't need more than we can drink. Those are the days that girls even come to his table and be like, "Oh, sorry, can I join your table? Can I get a drink from you?" And it makes it much easier. But I guess in the US, the louder the better, right?
The louder, the fancier, the better, regardless if you're faking it or not. That's this, yeah.
Wow.
That's the
Now
situation.
that's
Yeah.
that's interesting. In Nigeria, if you start to have sex with someone, you no longer need to communicate whether you guys are exclusive or not. The moment you start to have sex, there's an assumption that we are now exclusive. If we're having sex, I don't need to tell you or ask you to be exclusive. It's a given. However, in Europe, the realization is that when you have sex with someone, you have to assume that because you haven't had the exclusivity conversation, they are free and open to have sex with everyone else that they want. And you cannot be pissed about that. Is it the same in the US? Or what is it like in the US?
It's absolutely the same. You have to have the conversation. You need to have the conversation. And I think it's even much more worse here because if you meet someone online, um, it's also safe to assume, okay, I need to ask. Not just what they put on their profile. That doesn't say nothing. That used to mean something before. But right now, I'm seeking relationship or a serious long-term relationship. It doesn't say anything. And that's the problematic part for me that I feel like, because you also have the option to put in other things on your profile, like, oh, just the fling, just friends with benefit, and all these things are there. I had this experience like sometimes last year with this chick, right? Like, she's Chinese American.
Is it the same one? Is it the same one? The Chinese American
Yeah.
okay.
So like everything was cool. Everything was amazing. We were having dates, and this was even I wasn't even minding the dates, right? Because she's fun. Like we were like then at the point we've been seeing each other for like a month, and I wasn't even trying to seek a relationship or anything. I just felt like, yo, if we are going in this direction that we claim to both want, I demand some sort of little commitment. You are not readily available. I appreciate that you're always there, but I demand you to also sort of put in work to reach out to me. And her response was, I don't call boys. This was after a month of seeing each other like constantly, at least for because we're both like working and all. So like 4 good weeks, and every week we would see like 2 3 times with our busy like schedules, right? And after that, that was what I got. And she never once said, "Oh, I'm busy" or this and that. So it's just
So
that,
it
yo,
just doesn't call boys.
and I'm like, boys, I'm just one boy. So that statement in
Yeah.
itself just shows like, yo, I was probably on rotation, man. Like,
Wow. Wow. Wow.
yeah. And she wasn't even trying to say
Wow.
that to say, oh, I'm no longer interested or this. It's just like
Just so you know that
clarity
this is
that
what is.
yeah,
Were you shocked when you
I
heard that?
was
Were you
obviously
shocked?
because we met on Bumble and
Okay.
it was there that we were looking for the same thing. So I didn't assume. That was the point I was trying to make. Like,
Ah.
even though we were saying we are both looking for a relationship, you need to check to see if that's what she's really looking for.
That's another
So
interesting question now. Is it the same you need to check in Europe, in Germany, as in Germany
no,
it's different?
as long as online meeting goes, there's already an alignment. There's this sort of honesty where people just put there like, why are people ashamed of looking for one night stand or flings? You rarely see that
So
now.
so in Germany, is there honesty or no? It's also the same.
No, there is pure like there's honesty
So online in Germany, they will tell you I'm looking for a fling and it's a fling. If they say they're
and
looking
it's a
for a
fling.
relationship, then you can trust that they're looking for a relationship.
Yeah, from my
Okay,
experience,
now
that is true.
that's okay. That's a big difference. That's a massive difference. But in the US, they I'm sorry, I want to say this as aggressive as possible. In the US, it's just a bunch of liars or pretenders.
Yeah, it's
Something like
confusing
this.
really. It took me a while to really figure this out. And I was wrapping my head around it. It's yeah, it's confusing.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay, so now it's but you agree that in the US as well, you need to have the exclusivity conversation. So now
Definitely.
you have the conversation. Now you're both exclusive. Do you still need to have, and then it goes on for months? Do you still need to have the be my girlfriend conversation, or it's assumed based on how long it goes on for?
The definition of relationships and dates here is so flimsy that it doesn't carry that much weight. I think relationships equals fun. How much fun can I have with this guy? That's what I see. And as long as you are giving that, you're having fun. That's what I think a lot of women are looking for out here, and they are fine with that. So if you need something more concrete, more like exclusive, you would really need to make that clear, extra clear. Yeah, you would have to do that.
Okay, so that's interesting. Um, I mean, in Germany as well, I think you need to have that conversation.
I mean, you definitely need to also have that in Germany, but not
Sometimes you can assume because of how long it's going on for and
yeah,
it's
not because it's
exclusive.
it's confusing.
So,
Yeah, or
so
because you have to really.
another interesting question: how quickly do you move in? I mean, from what you've seen, of course, you mentioned that you have not had a long-term relationship in the US yet, but at least from what I've seen in Europe, people move in together very quickly. How quickly is that happening in the US as well? Have you seen that it's happening quickly or not?
I think it doesn't happen as such. Most of my friends and people that I have around, if I look at their relationships, like they are even like months, even maybe more than a year into the relationship, it's really difficult. And I don't think it's just a decision of people not wanting to live together. It's just difficult for people to live together because we are adults, right? And you have to work. And I think it takes marriages to make people really move in together here rather than in Germany where it's faster.
A 2 weeks relationship, 1 week relationship, they're moving in together. 1 week.
Most cases that I've seen that they move in together quickly is a sort of convenience move. Oh, like, oh, we can save money or we can do this, but not because they can both afford their own stuff and they are like, oh, nah. I think that would be the very last thing. That would be a marriage.
That's a considerable difference as well. Then I think there's a fundamental difference across race with how quickly you introduce your boyfriend or girlfriend to your parents. I mean, I can talk as a Nigerian that if you introduce a partner to your parents in Nigeria, it's because you are almost saying, this partner, I'm happy to propose and get married to her. Like you wouldn't introduce a woman or a man that you know that it's absolutely not possible to get married. You are absolutely impossible that you get married to them. You are not introducing them to your parents for Nigerians. But what I've seen in Europe, especially with white people as well, is that a 1 week relationship can immediately mean come to my parents' house for the weekend.
Yeah,
How
I
is it
mean,
in the US?
I mean, I just remember the time that it was confusing for me in Germany when that happened to me one time. I was like, "Oh, are we that are we that serious now?" But now I just think about that. I just laugh like, "Nah, it doesn't mean yeah what it meant culturally for us. It's the same in the US. It doesn't carry that much weight, you know. It's a matter of convenience. If like there is an event and they feel like, oh, it would be fun if you're there, my family or whatever, Easter, Halloween, or this, you can just pop in. Yeah, it's they would you can just meet
Yeah,
siblings. Yeah, no difference.
so no difference there. That's almost like a Western ideology then, yeah? Because
Yeah,
it's the same
yeah.
across board. Okay, the first question that I'm going to ask you is a yes or no question. The difference between online dating and physical meeting someone in face to face. Do you have a preference between these two options?
Yes, I do.
Which one do you prefer?
I definitely prefer the one offline.
Why?
It's simpler. When I say simpler, I mean it's less confusing. For example, if I walk up to a lady and I get a number and we plan a date, I sort of would not want to assume anything, right? Yeah, she is not confusing me in any way or form that she is looking for a serious relationship or fling. I have to get that out. In most cases, then it's genuine. You don't have any reason to sort of lie. I also don't know why people lie online, but from what I've seen from my experience is that they don't mean what they put up there
So there's a mismatch in the text that they put on their profile compared to
and their
how they
actions
behave.
and
Hmm.
their
I
actions.
see.
Yeah.
So and the profile, I think some maybe what's happening is that they make the profile, they completely forget what they have put in those profiles, and they just move on with life. Maybe when they created the profile, they were really looking for something like that, and then they have moved on with life, and their actions are just it's just a complete disconnect.
The quality is different when you meet someone offline. You know that feeling where you meet someone and you become sort of a child again, like the mystery is there, the
The
excitement is
excitement of
there.
yeah,
You don't
yeah,
get
I know
that
what you mean.
online. You just get a
Mm,
match and that's it. Like
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. You meet
when you meet
someone
someone
person,
in real, yeah,
you still don't know anything about them, and you're meeting this stranger again for a first date, and you know that this person have seen me, this person knows me somehow,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
agreed to go grab that coffee with me. That's exciting. Like, what's gonna happen, right?
Bro, it's
Yeah,
like this spark that you have, and it's
yeah.
the whole process is enjoyable.
Mm.
It's not an interview, it's a fun process. Online is an interview. Oh,
Because yeah, you
hey,
saw
do
me.
you have this? Have you had children? Do you have this? Have you been married? I'm like,
What is the probability of when you meet someone online in the US? Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how often is it that if you meet someone, they already have kids versus in EU? So what's the number in the in Germany and what's the number in the US?
I feel like you're putting me on the spot here, man. But I mean,
Yeah, but this is just based on your experience. Just say, okay, 9 out of 10 times.
so I have to divide that when it comes to, I think in the US, right? The chances are quite high that
No. Just say it. This is what I was talking about. Just say it. Just say it. Give it to us. Don't think about it now. Just say it. I need you to give it to us. Yeah, just give it to us.
I'm trying to see how I can say this without offending any sort of group.
Demography.
Yeah.
Just say it. We will explain it. I think it doesn't matter what you say. It's not coming from
You know
a
why? You
position
know
of
why?
judgment or anything, right?
Exactly
It's
the
just
point.
your experience. It's fine. It's fine.
I will tell you why I cite like that, or why I took a step back. So to answer your question, it's more probable that when you are in the US, you will meet more women who have had kids outside of a marriage. especially when you now narrow it down to the Black Americans. 3 out of 5 Black American that you meet online would have a child. My assumption now is maybe they feel like online is the best place for them. I'm not really sure what it would look like offline. When it's online, it's like 70, 60, between 60 to 80% chance that she has a child when she's African American. It doesn't really happen. Yeah, yeah. So in Europe, when you meet someone with a child, it's coming from someone with a failed
Cheating on
marriage.
our husband. Okay, failed marriage. Okay, failed marriage. Sorry. All right. Okay. You also prefer face to face because of that excitement and the fact that there's a lot of honesty. Do you think people act differently to people that they meet online versus people that they have met face to face?
I believe strongly that how you meet someone does matter because that already changes the direction of everything is going to go. When you meet someone offline, this same person might be talking to 30 guys online. Well, trust me, you might be the only one offline that she is talking to. So
I
you are
see.
much more visible than
Than the
when
person
you
that
know
you met online. I see.
exactly.
Or than the people, because it's usually
Yeah,
people,
it's
not
a
just one
pool of
person.
yeah.
Pick one: call or text.
Definitely call. Call is much more efficient. It saves time. It's a multi-level sort of communication compared to text, right? With texting, you can confuse the context. You can misread things out of context. You can assume things. But when you call, it gives some sort of, this
You can do that bedroom voice thing that you need in the
exactly.
US.
you can trust me. We all fall in love with voices too. I mean, some voice,
Yeah, it's
yeah, appealing. Some
yeah.
are much more appealing
Their
than others.
voices. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one. So yeah, so call over, guys. Are you picking it? Call over text, and ladies as well. And I agree with you. It saves time. It's much more efficient, much more direct, less prone to misunderstanding or
Yeah,
miscommunication,
yeah.
and it just makes much sense. Much sense.
I wanted to answer the other part of the question. You asked
If it's different between.
yeah, it is also really different. What I've
Oh,
noticed is
really?
that it's the same when it comes to what works. Phone call works like 100% in both countries. I'm much more conservative coming from Germany, right? You sort of even sometimes need to plan to call. When I first got to the US, I tell you for a fact now, when you get a number here, you call ASAP. Like you don't plan the call, you don't
Don't text. I'm gonna
bro.
give you a call.
I lost some sort of links like that. Bro, you just call and you just speed things up faster like that. And they expect that. That's the point I'm trying to make.
There's so many things that is quite enlightening. I mean, we've been talking for quite a bit now, and it's
Yeah.
unbelievable how much new information I've gotten now. You can't even imagine, and I'm very happy because
I'm
then
glad.
all our
Yeah.
viewers would also catch this. But to wrap it up, can you tell us what will an ideal meeting look like to you? Now to the men listening to us, or to the young boys listening to us as well, what would be the process that you would say, if you go this way, this way, this way, if you're in the US, you stand a great chance. This is how you should be as a man. If you would advise someone, tell us what you would tell them.
The first step is you need to delete all the apps on your phone. All these dating apps, they need to go. These apps have us in this loop where you think I can always go there and see what is going on. It keeps you on there in that mental state that I'm not really single. I just need to meet someone out of all this mess. But you are wasting a lot of time. So that's my first recommendation. Two, you have to fix your mindset and your environment. If you are someone who has been online for a while, I experienced that myself. Going out there, a lot of things need to change about you, about how you think, about how you see dating and everything. You sort of have to have this non-chasing energy. I wouldn't advise anyone to chase. So you have to fixate your mind or mindset on trying to attract. And the environment means In the US, most especially, you don't have to be where you want to be in life, but you have to sort of create something a girl can want to be a part of. Like the little you have, make it shiny, both your mind and your environment. So you are not out there trying to compete. I think that's also what you need to realize. You're not going out there to sort of compete with other men, in as much as you are indirectly, right? But you are there to sort of advertise yourself. So that's the mindset you need to set after deleting the apps. And third, you have to go out there. And when I mean go out there, be social. Your Uber driver, the door dasher that brought you your food, like be out there socially. Make jokes.
Open up your mind. Get used to talking to people and
Exactly. And if you're walking to people, don't really rush into it. You challenge yourself and be like, if I walk up to her and tell her like, oh, I really love your outfit, or like I think you're cute or something. That's already enough. You are not judging your success on whether you get a number or not. You reduce it to the barest minimum of, I just need to go there and tell her what I feel about her. 70% of the job is walking up to her. Trust me, if you repeat this process like several times, you would definitely get some amount of success. Because to round it up now, what I also then see a lot now is the fact that ladies wants to be approached offline now. Because no, it's not working out for anyone on the apps anymore. So we have to come to the realization like, yo, we need to get off these dating apps and fix things ourselves.
of course, Ibrahim has a lot more experience about this, and that's why we have had the opportunity to learn quite a lot from him today. So I've picked up that there's a difference between EU when it comes to directness and how much money can do as well. Now that you see that there's a difference in the US, should men adjust to how it is in the US and be maybe less direct as well, or and maybe try to spend a lot of money on the girl to make her want them? Like, how should they go about that?
I don't have high hopes for the dating um, market right now in the US. But if there's anything I think anyone can do, right, is you just have to level up.
Yeah.
We all want this good life, right? We all want this thing. And I'm not judging people for that. So you just have to level up. That's, for me, I feel like it's the responsibility as a man. Don't try to impress anyone. If anyone is trying to make you spend extra money or whatever, just know like, nah, this person is not for
Probably
me.
not for you.
Yeah.
Probably not for you. And maybe that's the point that so basically my interpretation of what Ibrahim just said now is that, look, when it says level up, it's really just saying go for everything that you think you want in life. If you want to be a billionaire, go for it. If you're happy being a millionaire, go for it. When you get to the position that you're happy with yourself, when you get to the position in life that you know that, you know what, I'm where I would like to be, or I'm on the road to where I would like to be, and I feel confident in my plan and my process, and you feel like you're happy now to introduce your life or someone else into your life, a partner in this sense. If you're the kind of guy that would go out to eat in a very expensive restaurant and pay $300, then it doesn't make a difference if a partner joins you and it costs you $500. You're not doing it to make that person, to show off to that person. It's because this is the lifestyle that you are in. And this person is only moving into that lifestyle. That's basically how it has to be. Do not change your lifestyle to attract a girl, but for yourself, on your own, work on your lifestyle, work on the life you want to live, and make sure you're on the road to where you want to be. Without changing yourself, women are attracted to come into your life. And when they come into your life, they feel like they're in the life of someone that can provide for them and protect them without you changing yourself. Right?
Exactly. And that's the changing of environment that I talked about.
Exactly. If it's not part of your plan to take a second job and you have a very clear process to where you want to get to, if you don't want to take a second job in your life, you would like to use that time to get a professional course and move on to something else, or whatever it is that you want to do. Don't take a second job to be able to afford the girl that you basically can't afford. Work on yourself to attract women. Treat women nicely. Again, don't be a fool. Be nice to women. Be a competent man. Know yourself. If you have a partner in your life, make sure that they're moving into a life that you wish for your sister as well, or your brother. Thank you. I think that's been an exciting episode. We're very excited to see what you guys think about this as well. Share your experiences. And if you think we've gotten something wrong on a more macro level, we would like to see in the comment section what you guys think about some of the questions that Ibrahim have answered today and some of his experiences as well. What has been your experience? Share with us, like, comment, subscribe, share, and see you guys next time. Cheers.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Yeah, exactly.